I
I th
what was it? I'm a generator. I'm a generator, so I when I turn on, I heat up. I get real hot.
I
Like
got you.
yeah, so I'm
Right.
a earthbound generator, so I ground everything.
It must
So
have it must have something to do with the interstellar interstellar uh ethnicity lineage of what we see as Latinos and Latinas.
but I'm Native American though.
That too, yeah. Yeah. Well, I
Well,
mean that's been it. That's yeah, I mean, yeah, like
yeah,
my DNA is like a third, almost a third. It's like 28% American Indian. But I mean, I think that comes through, that's prior to the Mexican, it's prior to,
definitely. Definitely that's all together, right?
yeah.
I am Native American. I'm Lakota.
Mm,
My mother was raised in, or born, not raised, she was born in Porcupine, South Dakota, right out of Pine Ridge.
okay.
And my father was Oneida Iroquois from the Iroquois Nation, from
Wow.
originally from New York.
Wow. How did they hook up? Because the Lakota were plains, it was a plains tribe, nomadic
Well,
plains tribe.
yeah, they're plains, and then they're in the South Dakota, kind of way west towards, I believe, is it Wyoming, right next to South Dakota?
Yeah, something like that. Don't
Yeah.
ask me. I lose track out there. I drove through. It was like driving through a universe.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful, that's for sure.
absolutely incredible. So let me formally roll this episode out. This is episode 64. Adds up to a 10. That's a 1. New beginnings. Um, Pamela Stevens, Blue Angel Healing. Uh, yeah, she was one of those that said, "Hey, I'll come on, have a conversation with you. Let's talk about what's going on." So, thank you for coming in and entering this sacred space openly, and let's see where it goes. But I
Okay.
think it's starting pretty good already.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sounds good. Are you, um, well, let me see I guess, one of the things I wanted to do is talk about, where I came from, where this started.
Hmm.
And, well, we started with a native culture there, but I'm mixed, right? I'm native and I have some Irish and, so I have my mother and father met in, Los Angeles, by the way. She, wasn't raised in South Dakota. She ended up in Phoenix and then in Los Angeles. So my father met her there. Uh, so anyways, both Aquarians, parents, they're eccentric, brilliant. My father just passed June 1st. And thank you. And his name is Ernest L. Stevens Sr. So he was named one of the top Indian leaders in the country. In the political world, like he's done many things. He's in the Korean War, all that stuff. But he went through his transformation or his rebirth in his young teens, I would guess. He got into the Korean War at the age of 17, and he was born in 1932. So in the 70s, I was born in 68. In the 70s, one of the things that my father, he was a genius. He was brilliant. But he read the Bible. He studied Buddhism. He just did all these different things, and then we were baptized Catholic. In the Indian country, he worked in D.C. And we traveled all over the country, different reservations. He helped him with that Self-Determination Act as far as helping tribes to develop. He was an economic development specialist. So we traveled to different reservations. We lived in the Navajo reservation. Um, but on our journey, my father was very spiritual and my mother were very spiritual. So, they drive through the they're very open-minded. I mean, we would be laying on chairs looking for spaceships in the early 80s. I mean, my parents are really like, we had conversations at the table about aliens, Bigfoot. It was just open. I was a dreamer since I was real little, and it was something that they were aware of, and that they, they supported us. They wanted to communicate. It was interesting, to them, and it was something that they believed in. So I guess it started there with my parents. One of the things with my father is that one of his he was a reader. Okay, he's a researcher. And I believe it's because, sorry, I have stage burning. I believe that it's because of what he went through in the Korean War, and an only child, he's been through a lot. And then the native, his mother, my grandmother was at the boarding school, so we went through all, the trauma of all that stuff. And then my father was only child. So he went through an awakening in a difficult way, right? And so he did all the research and stuff. So when I was young, like in like early teens, my father was teaching me about the Matrix, like the illusion. And he was talking about the book, the Richard Bach, Illusions.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he read so many books, and that was the one that stood out to him the most, I think. It was interesting. And Celestine prophecy at that time, was real big, stuff like that. But so my father was always about everything's an illusion, it's not real. That, do you know, he would have me, because he was so intelligent, and he got in his deep conversations. Do you know you could put your hand through this wall? That everything's a particle, it's like, he was that type of person. Very, I had I guess learning disabilities, but I didn't know that. And his way of dealing with me and the way I communicate with my father, because all of us were really intimidated of my father because he was very intelligent. He was a drill sergeant in the Marines and all that. So he, just him looking at us, him and I had this connection that we could like telepathically just know. I was super shy and quiet, very, very shy. And a lot of people were nervous of me because I was intense. My energy was intense, like the way that I would look at them, or I could see through people, and at a very young age, and it made people nervous, So over the years, my father, he took me out to the field. We owned 63 acres of land, farmland, horses, things like that. And he just said, honey, go grab a blanket. I'm going to take you out to the field. Okay, did whatever he said. And then he said, lay the blanket in the field. It's high grass in the summer. It's a beautiful day. I want you to lay here, and I want you to stare at those clouds. And I want you to focus on those clouds. And I want you to separate that cloud into two. And how you do that is you envision and focus on each particle and just manifest and break that cloud. And you want me to separate the cloud in two. And, we did whatever he said, he didn't explain too much. He just told me how to do it. He goes, I'm going to go off into the woods. I'm going to come back, and I'll see if you broke that cloud in two, And I was taking that cloud apart. I was picking it apart. And what he was doing was his way of teaching me how to focus in on one thing. He was teaching me how to zoom in onto one thing, because I'm a Libra, the Gemini moon. And so I'm all over the place. My mind, I'm a whirlwind of energy. In our culture, they call it SoulogyOneStudios. It's like the whirlwinds. So I move like that. My mind's like that. So my father was trying to get me to focus my mind onto one thing, to be able to zoom in and learn how to meditate at a young age. But he didn't say those words. He just taught me things like that. Over the years, I'm a medicinal empath. I learned my healing abilities at a young age, or was able to, I'm able to see into people's anatomy, and I was utilizing infrared to highlight the areas of injury or whatever. I was able to do that at a young age. My two sisters, they call us the three sisters, were able to heal. We each had a separate type of dynamic of healing that went together. It was like it complemented each other. So we went. My father, I went through baptismal as a Catholic. I've been to ceremonies, Lakota ceremonies, Hamblechas, sweat lodges, everything. UEP ceremonies. I've been through all that. I've been into the Longhouse, which is Oneida culture. You know, got my name and, you know, I don't really follow either nothing. I don't follow anything per se. You know, like when we lived in Window Rock and Navajo Reservation, there was a Catholic church, but he burned cedar, you know, like I love that. I love that, you know, because it was a combination. And my father said, it's not one place that's where God is, it's wherever you are and where you feel him. Where you feel creator, that love, that's peace in with you. You could be up on a hill, you could be in a church, or it doesn't matter where you are. And that's what he taught us. So over the years, in my late teens, early 20s, people would say, what are you? You know, like almost like judgmental, you know, like, what are you? You know, you go to the Longhouse for a little bit, you go to, you know, my mother's Lakota. In the Native culture, we follow our mothers, and so she, you know, so what do you do? And what are you? And I didn't have an answer for them, you know, because my dad taught us meditation. He studied Buddhism, went to the Sitka, is it the Sitka, Montanaga? Oh, no, it's not his name. Jeremiah from the 80s. We went to like their sessions and they gave my dad beads and, you know, like we just did all these different things. And so I saw my father and I said, Dad, what are we? You know, someone said, what are you? And I didn't have an answer for them. And he says, honey, just say you're universal. And you know, I love that because it's like, if you did my DNA, I'm all four directions. If you did my DNA, it's all four directions. And one of the things that I really like, you know, over the COVID thing, you know, I put 30 years into a career. I was told at a young age, I did some Himalayan fast, like 2-day fast up, you know, in the woods, and had some amazing experiences, like your background there. The first night in, I was, you know, I was getting my medicine, right? I was going into, and I was doing a healing. So this is you know, it's the 4-day, 4-night fast, like Lakotas do up on the hill type of thing. Except for I was doing it in the woods. And I went up that night and I only, you go into the lodge and they tell you how many days that you go in. And I was told 2 days and 2 nights. I would do 2 sets of those. So that summer. So I went in and the first night I was, you know, you go into your lodge and there's all this protection around us that we prep. You have to prep for this. You don't just go do it. There's you know, there's protocol and all these things. And I won't get into all that, but I was in there and I was gurgitating. I was vomiting and vomiting and vomiting in the night, and I couldn't stop. You know, and I was like sick, and I was like, oh my God. And it was like a lot of times in life when you do these things, when you go on these spiritual journeys or these soul journeys, or there's tests, there's always tests, you know, to see things to hold you down or to pull or to weigh you down, keep you from moving forward. So I fell asleep. I went into dream. I woke up that morning and thinking, oh my God, because we have to have star quilts wrapped around us and there's a whole thing. I'm thinking, I'm going to be in this mess for the 2 days and 2 nights. And I woke up the next morning, I looked down and there's not anything in sight, nothing. It was gone. It was completely gone. The mess, you know, from vomiting and stuff like that, everything was gone. And I went into the next night and I was praying really hard because there were some scary things that were happening, like I feel like giants are running at me and all these crazy things are happening, try to get me to get out of that lodge, you know. And you know, I'm in there and all of a sudden I look down to the ground and your background, whenever I see your background on your thing, reminds me of that, because when I looked down, I saw stars. I saw stars around me. I am holding my chinook and my pipe and I am my quilt. I'm looking around me. I'm looking around, like rubbing my eyes, everything. There's just stars around me everywhere. It's just, I'm in this galaxy of, I don't see the lodge anymore. The hut that they built for me, that's gone. All I see is just stars. And so that was that was part of my journey, you know, like my native tradition of getting connected. And so that was that was 26 years ago,
Mm.
26, 27 years ago. I spiraled after that. I did another sweat lodge, another Himlacia, like a vision quest, they're called. I did another one, and I spiraled for the last 20 something years. I was told in that lodge that I wasn't quite ready yet for my medicines, but they would come to me in my late 40s, early 50s, where my gifts would start coming. I already had gifts, right? All of us have gifts. We're all special, the whole thing. I believe that. But they said that whatever I was meant to do in this lifetime will come to me late 40s, early 50s. So I'm 56. Furlough came in, COVID came in. I was stuck in the casino business for 30 years, you know. Um, Over the time span though, I'm a dreamer, a visionary. So I've had dreams like, I'm trying to think, like 20 years ago or so, 15 years ago, of shifts, changes. And my guides would show me exactly what they look like. And this is like 15, 20 years ago. So much so that I was getting into the doomsday prepping stuff. I went through that stage, you know. I had a dream, and all my dreams where I go back into the native, like the old ways, breech cloths, you know, the men are in breech cloths, there's bear dens, you know, the wolves, the whole thing. We go into that, and the fire, that sacred fire is always there. And this dream, they bring me outside, and I'm in the middle of somewhere, a house right in the middle, and the stars are amazing. They're beautiful. And I am connected to the stars. I'm a star seed. But the thing is that this man, this native man, long black hair, he was a probably Plains tribe, showed me and brought me outside, and he was, the weather was, it was a summer night, and all of a sudden the lightning and thunders come in. We call them the thunder beings. They came in, and then it shifted, and then and he said, now look, and I'm watching, and all of a sudden it's snowing. So he was showing me a timeline with the thunder beings coming together with snowing, like all the different weathers coming together, that this was a shift that's going to happen at that time. I had this dream like 15, 20 years ago, maybe, or maybe longer. I don't know. I had very prophetic dreams like over the years, so much so that I used to journal them on the computer and stuff. Like, I don't do that no more. I don't write. I should. I don't write my stuff down anymore. But that happened, and I had dreams of fires, like everything was burning, and it was like terrifying. The dreams are terrifying. Oh wait, back to the dream with I'm sorry about he showed me a map. Like, do you know, like the new age now where they have the higher, I don't know what it's called. I'm not good with terminology, but it's like a computer, but you can turn it, and it's like 5D, you know, those type of things. I don't know what those are called, but he showed me a map. He pulled it up on the screen of my dream. He pulled this map up, and he showed me the states and how to go west from, I'm in Wisconsin by the Great Lakes, and he showed me the ley lines, of and you know, like earthquakes where, the ley lines. He showed me like the Great Lakes. I live literally a few blocks from Lake Michigan, and to head west at least an hour west and go straight up into North Dakota, into Canada. And in this map, it showed me a red line, like he used a red highlighter. And then he shifted me into, I'm actually racing that day, and I'm in like a 4x4 Jeep, and I have to race through. He told me, you got to have a Jeep, you got to have this, you got to have something to be able to travel through that terrain, because people are going to be blocked up on the highway. You're going to have to be able to drive through the ditches and stuff. Like, this was 15, 20 years ago, this dream. And So, I was always raised my children that way, like we have to be able to, I had duffel bags packed. But I knew, like he was telling me when, and then not too long ago, we were having this weather shift. The last few years, we're having the thunder and lightning and then the snow coming down. We're having that change. They said that the lower, I forget what it is, the lower band here of the heat is shifted up now into like the middle, like where we are, Wisconsin, all that whole band all the way across. Where everything's shifting. That's why the everything's melting and all that stuff. The changes that are happening. So I've had, stuff like that happen with me, but I think my biggest change into now, what I'm doing now is the COVID thing that hit. It was massive, in so many different ways. I didn't believe in it. I didn't believe in the fear paradigm and all that stuff. What they were pulling us into, I was really navigating it, like trying to coach people against that, not to be in that fear. I was against the vaccinations. I was against all that stuff. And but I did get furloughed, and I've been trying to get out of my work that I do for years just because it's so toxic. And I'm a hyper empath. So I felt the energy of everything, and it was just weighing me so much. I developed fibromyalgia really bad, so I have a hard time walking and things like that. So I had to get out of that, and I was told I was told that I had to shift, right? I had to move into my purpose at a certain time. So the furlough allowed me to do that. It allowed me to get paid. I was getting paid for a while and things like that. And then I'm like, I don't know what to do. I read cards. I read tarot cards. Like how am I gonna make some money here? And I just started, I got on Keen and Psychic Hotline, and they hired me, and I've been doing that. And over the last few years, I've taken some healing courses and stuff, but it's funny when I took the courses, it's like, oh, that's what that is. Because I've already was doing it, but I didn't know what the terminology of it was. And, it's like I'm getting certified to say I'm certified, but I've already been doing it for years. I've been doing energetic clearings and healings and, you know, imprints and things like that and stuff like, I'm not a medium. I'm not a clairaudient. I'm a claircognizant, or I channel. Like even now I'm talking, it's part of channeling. Everything will come to a complete circle when I'm done. Like that's how I work. But I've seen things, because the biggest thing that I want to say with the shift that we're going through right now, and when I do my readings, I've done like 5,500 readings or something on Keen, and I do readings for people around here. I'm known around this area, and in Oneida, my home, and stuff like that. Or also South Dakota, they call me also. But if anything that I want to talk about is my mother. She passed, oh God, 24 years ago, my mom did. And right above her bed was a sign that said simplicity. With everything that my mother and father have been through all these changes, shifts, their spiritual journey, everything, their journey started in the 70s, their awakenings and their abilities and all that. My mom used to tap on her third eye and say, "Ernie, call me," to my father, and he'd call her 5 minutes later. Like they're aware of that stuff, and so it's like, so this furlough thing, the simplicity thing of it all is, I had to physically heal. I went through a rough time. Those years, I had a rough time. I had to go through a healing journey, like mind, body, and spirit. I had to really go through, I had a rough life, So, I was going through my awakening and stuff like that. And, I started to walk. I had hip surgery, all that. And I'm like, I'm 4 or 5 blocks from the lake. And I'm like, I'm not going to limp no more. I'm going to walk normal. So I would push forward it and walk normal, and walk to that lake almost every morning at and especially sunrise, And I started to offer tobacco to that lake. And it was our offering, you know, a native thing is giving thanks and pray for its healing and getting connected. I started doing that over the years, and I've been doing that for the last 10, 11. Well, my ex left and it was 2014. So I started doing that around that time. And so I was really on that journey. I'd go lay at the lake. I'd bring my duffel bag, my dog, my books, and just lay there and just ground, you know, just get connected with Mother Earth, you know. And I started to be aware of things. And it was like, I would see two, you know, geese fly in or whatever, coming from the east or whatever, or, you know, or whatever it was, or it's at the sunrise. My favorite times are sunrise, sunset, because there's that time of, I feel like everything's time stops. I don't believe in time anyways, but there's a time of peacefulness like this. It's this beauty of the sunrise and the sunset.
Yeah, it's like where death and birth become one and the same, right?
Oh
For,
yeah, definitely.
and the sunrise or the sunset is like an extended, like slow motion part of the day.
It
You
is.
know?
It's so beautiful. If you could just stop and pause and just feel that energy, it's amazing.
You
It's
know, there's like three big questions that you brought up in your storytelling, which is obviously, you know, from this mirror of us that's comes down to the experience of that. And then to be in a space where you can hear it and see it and feel it, right? Um, so like one of them was, and I think it was like the third best one out of the three, but it was the first one that came in. So like listening to you and feeling into everything that you're talking about, because it does represent your multidimensionality. All of our multidimensionality has come on more and more and more, meaning we can hear more things, we can handle more streams. And I felt like the um, indigenous thread, right? Like even the areas of the country that you were at, you know, and how it was all related and the stories and the dreams, that this is like some huge lineage. And we're only going back like 150, 200 years. I mean, you know, this is like some deep stuff. And there's a galactic uh, you know, part of it too. You can feel it. And I think you mentioned it. Um, and so my question was, especially when you said that about you and your sisters, the three sisters, I was like, oh my God, this is like some major realignment of the feminine, of the deep feminine lineage, right? And
Mhm.
so I was thinking, have you, what have you seen, you know, boots on the ground as a human being with these key players? Like what has happened in the human experience? Is there some deeper connection occurring, like with these playmates that we call brothers and sisters and so on? I mean, because that's a powerful thing. Do you feel, I guess I would say it another way, do you feel that whatever the program was or the bullshit from the ancestral lineage that we all set up and that brought us to this point for transformation or whatever, do you feel that it's been cleared or neutralized or transformed or anything like that? Or do you feel like it's still there?
You mean the healing, the generational healing and all that? Like the feminine
Yeah, I
timeline?
mean, well, I mean, like at some point you've got to go over 50%. At some point you go, okay, that shit's done. Now it's going to play out and it's going to fade away, but there's nothing, you know, reinforcing it. There's nothing coming back to support that. It's just going to be whatever it has, it's going to die out kind of thing. Yeah, and I think it is related to the feminine.
Yeah, we just went through the Venus retrograde. We just went through that Venus retrograde, and that was about a soul merge within yourself, that whole retrograde. And then now we're into the Mars energy. Mars just went direct and it was in Cancer. The masculine's getting in touch with their emotions with that Cancer energy. It just shifted into Leo. Now we're being the masculine is coming to this place. We have Mars Pluto opposition that's happening already on the 26th. That's huge, a huge shift, and it's a very intense energy. I've had clients contact me even yesterday, like uh, it's a very volatile energy. But this Venus retrograde, we had 7 planets retrograde from last May. I mean, excuse me, September and October to now to February, March mostly, that timeline. And we had a few, I think Mars was the last, or Mars was the last planet to go direct. And we have a time space of everything moving forward. But right now, in the next couple of weeks, we're clearing out things. But in these retrogrades, okay, the Venus retrograde was about healing those mother timelines. That whole, it was generational traumas and everything. So we're healing the mother. And by the way, today's Earth Day. You're talking about the mother Earth energy. Today's Earth Day. So I wanted to acknowledge that. And I Earth Day today of Mother Earth, that she's it's her day today. So to pray for her, that for healing and love and all that, because they really get grounded into that energy. But so you know, talking about mother, you know, and the moon energy and stuff like that. But we've gone through that transition, and I personally have been going through healing with my sisters and my mother. I just had a dream of my father passed June 1st. His memorial's coming up June 1st, 1 year. And so I'm healing that masculine. I'm healing the mother, you know, the father, the mother. But they're coming in my dreams like almost every night, both of them, which is really odd for me because in the culture, my mom didn't come to me after a couple years of her passing. My dad was like, cause he, you know, he's very advanced. He's very advanced spiritually. So I think he's just coming in, he's worrying and stuff like that. But and I'll tell you something about it right before he passed. I have to tell you this. It has to do with Atlantis. That was pretty amazing. Talking about the pillars rising right now from Atlantis. I dreamt that right before my father passed away, like a week or two. And so my mom and father were connected to Atlantis. And I even gave them a book. I have it in my bookshelf over here of I wrote it to them when I was like in my early 20s. I gifted it to my mom and dad for their anniversary, that Lovebirds from Atlantis type of thing. And right before he died, he took me to, it was like a universal, like multi-moon place. Like it wasn't even this earth. He took me to this ocean, and my mom was off on the side, but he wanted me to go with him and sit down on these steps. He sat on, I sat one lower, and I had my arm on his knees, and he wanted me to watch this ocean, and he's watched, and these pillars came up out of the ocean, and he said that was the pillar rising, the Atlantis rising, and that just blew my mind. I went down that rabbit hole for like 3 days. You know, the research and everything. You know, it's like, you know, it's like this is the era that we're in, you know. But right now, yes, in the feminine stuff that you're talking about, that mother stuff, we're healing that. Um, as a healer, when I connect with people and do a reading on them, I actually scan your body. I don't do it deliberately. My spirit scans you while I'm connecting. And then I feel like energy blockages in my body. I'm a medicinal empath, so like if you have a pain, like a neck ache, I'll tell you exactly where it is. I can put my finger on it and show you and tell you what's wrong with it, that type of thing. Lately, in the last, I have problems with time, 3-4 months maybe. I've been picking up on the umbilical cord, the connection to the umbilical cord. So when I pick up on a client, the umbilical cord is that cord that's connected to that feminine, our mamas, that how we have to disconnect from that, because we have to pull that out, because we're being sovereign, we're liberating ourselves, and we're
Okay, hang on. I'm with you the whole way. Let's go back to the, no, I'm with you the whole way. The whole way. Let's go back like about four or five sentences. So you were going along, and I think you said something about the umbilical. Okay, right? The
Mhm,
umbilical. And at some point, I think you said, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I just want to know where we're at.
mhm.
It's no judgment at all, believe me. Uh, and then you said I think you said it needs to be cut. And then I think that's kind of where I lost you. So can you kind of go through that slowly, if you don't mind?
Well, what I was told is that not cut. I don't believe in cutting cords. I believe in pulling them out by the roots. So you have to disconnect from that energy. You have to disconnect because that's where all that generational trauma, womb trauma, all that stuff is coming
But
in.
I mean, what are we disconnecting from? Are we pulling the roots out and like pulling all of the things we've experienced, the conditions of programming, etc., and like bringing it over here because it wasn't even real, kind of thing?
No,
And
we're
is that what you're
letting
talking
go of
about?
things that no longer serve us
Hmm,
and taking with us our inherited rights or gifts.
hmm,
So we're taking things that are like our inherited, generational stuff that we inherited. We're
hmm.
taking that with us, but we're disconnecting from all the traumas and things, you
Yeah,
know.
that was that first question because it really
Mhm,
hit deep what you were saying because it was a very personal experience and thank you for sharing it very
mhm.
openly. But when you mentioned the three sisters, it was like I saw the geometry and it was like, whoa. And my question that came up, and so like 10 minutes later I kind of didn't say it right. And I said, or what I wanted to say was, do you feel, because I can hear your story, so it must be like on steroids for you and your sisters and the people involved. But like, do you feel this deep, 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 deep ancestral lineage? And I would even go so far to say is with the sisters, with the mother, with, the feminine part of it that was hundreds and hundreds and thousands, whatever of years that you've reached a point now, or do you feel like maybe collectively we're reaching a point now where all of that can be unified and brought into that zero point, into that soul highway, into that space where there is no blame and that kind of thing? Because I mean, it seems to me it's very obvious that the feminine has led the way since, let's just say 2012, but we know it happened before. But let's just say that was the date, the Mayan calendar. But something huge maybe has happened with the feminine in relationship to the mother and to the daughter and to like the power of the triad of the trinity of the seed. I mean, not the seed, but the egg. I mean, the root, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so that's kind of what I heard. So my question was really, do you feel like, in your human flesh, because we can't get away from that maybe something really big is going down
Oh, yeah,
and this
definitely.
unification, like with, and not by force, but this natural organic unification with even blood, especially feminine to feminine, mother to daughter to, you know what I mean?
And even
Like
the masculine too. I've had visions of them when we went through the masculine clearing where I was having feeling suppressed energy in our ribs, in the ribs on the left side. Was it the left side, the right side? Um, I was feeling it on my left side, so it'd be your right side because I mirror you. I mirror you. So when I do the healing, I do the opposite. So your right side would be the masculine side. So I was feeling pressure in my ribs, like compacted pressure. And my guides are saying that it was calcified energy in there. And I kept connecting it to the ribs, the Jacob. I don't know the story, so with the ribs, is it not Jacob's last?
Adam's,
Yes,
no, it's Adam. It's Adam's rib.
Adam.
And
Adam.
supposedly, how
Yeah,
everything's upside down, but supposedly that created Eve.
yeah. So I was
It's all
saying it's
backwards.
going all the way back to that time, though.
Yeah.
The suppress like the energy, the compact in our bones. I've been having weird experiences lately in these last 6 months specifically, that we are in 3, 4, 5 years ago, I was told about the paradigm shift and also the wormhole. And I was at the lake. I was telling you in the past, I was going to the lake all the time offering tobacco, and I was seeing things. And I take pictures of light codes and stuff like that. I take pictures of all of that, the frequency, I'm into all that stuff. So I was taking pictures of things, and it shifted, the light rays shifted. And I'm like, what was that? Like it was just this way and now it's this way. And my guide said paradigm shift. I'm like, what? What's a paradigm shift? I didn't know what a paradigm shift was. That was maybe 5, 6 years ago. So I researched what a paradigm. I'm like, oh my God, okay, that's cool. Okay, now what? When is this happening? And then I heard of and then I saw the wormhole. And then I saw a dragon eye come in the vision, because sometimes I get the clairvoyance, a dragon eye come in. So I feel like it's this year, because are we in the dragon now? Like the wood dragon or something? Or was that last year?
I don't know.
Okay.
To me they're all the same thing because everything's merging.
Yeah, that was the Chinese astrology. But anyways, it's so I got the paradigm shift from being at the water, all of that. And it's just really about really getting connected and just being one with everything around you. And just in observing and being aware of everything around you, and the universe speaks to you, it's just like you just get connected, you know, um, and that's where you got the messages. And so I've been watching you for quite a while, and I'm listening to you. I'm like, yeah, there's a paradigm shift. I just heard that the other day, it was like, there was the guides were speaking to me and stuff. But, so with those messages, let's get back to what you're talking about. So I've been doing readings, like, I'm not consistent on my YouTube. Whenever I feel it, I go through the solar storms and all that, and it just kicks my butt, like I'm down and stuff. I'm drinking spring water and trying
That's the real story that we all need to hear.
how it affects everybody. It kicks our ass, really. Excuse me, but yeah, it does. The solar storms that coming in, we're changing. My guys pulled me back to we're in the simplicity is we're just evolving, just at a fast, accelerated pace. That's what they said. We're evolving very quickly. And that's the quantum leaps that are happening. The portals that open up. What I am aware of is there's portals everywhere. We can step into any portal we want to. We have the key to open those doors up. And I've dreamt about two keys, a silver key and a gold key, and I still don't have that figured out yet. But I dreamt about two keys yet. But and it was about going into another doorway. And but the thing is with what you're talking about is through my readings, I get really connected. Like I got the chills right now. I get really connected to that 0 point. I'm always talking about the 0 point activation or the center point. It's love, it's ether, it's spirit, it's creator's breath, whatever you want to say. It's sacred. It's beautiful, and it's in your heart space. And we're coming out of this here. And we're merging into that heart space, that soul union within yourself. And as we're doing that, we crossed over already. We already crossed over. And there was a point like a few months back where I said, you're crossed over already, but you're nude, you're naked, and you're vulnerable, you're stripped. But there's a foot left on the other side that's all concentrated of all the imprints that you got to pull out of there.
And it's got like a sock and a boot.
Yeah, it's like, and you just gotta pull it. That's how they show me. That's how they show me. It's like, and it's intense though. This is the stuff that's the deep rooted stuff. That's the deep rooted stuff that we are fighting so hard to hang on to because of fear of the unknown, the fear of the unknown. And we're trying to get rid of that fear paradigm and just, so letting go of the fear paradigm, letting go of the control, and just being and having faith and trusting in the process. Neptune just went into 0 point right now. into Aries out of Pisces, 165-year cycle that we just shifted out of and starting a new one. And we're at this 0 point, and it aligns up with everything else right now. And Neptune is the unseen. It's the not knowing. And it's just, I don't know where this comes. I just believe. I just know that this is in having faith in ourselves and trusting in that. That's what these lessons are. And liberating ourselves from the past and just letting it fall away. We're not letting go of nothing. Once you have that higher understanding, knowing, it's just going to dissipate and fall away. That's what's going to happen. And we're at that 0 point. We got to maintain that.
Yeah, and I think it's very organic. There's a natural unfoldment. I feel like that it's very important for people like what you've just done, and really share their experience, because the thread of the thread of unity or oneness or whatever you want to call it, that's got us here, all these crazy people together at the same time, and it's not crazy anymore.
Yeah.
Uh,
You feel it?
it comes through. It
Mhm.
comes through. So, and I've been feeling this for the last, I don't know. I feel like something totally new happened April 1st, but May 1st, it's probably going to be something way beyond that. I don't know. But it really
Mhm.
feels like something really big has happened. And I feel like that people with their soul presence and their human presence telling their story, there's so much code in it that's not in the story. It's the expression. It's the freedom to say and be who they are, what you said basically, and many people have. The other thing I find really, really encouraging and inspiring by what you had to say is I know after what I've been doing for the last 12, 13 years, you know, talking to people, there are so many sisters out there that have a very similar story that in fact is the same story. It
Mhm.
just the specifics aren't the same, but
Right.
what you talked about, not so much in the description but in the depth of it, like I went down here, like
Oh,
that's
I lost you for a second.
oh,
You
it's
glitched just for a
oh, it's probably
moment.
me. All right. But I feel like that feminine part of it, or that feminine expression without any type of blockage or impediment, you might even say the opening up all the way, is what's actually happening. like it's actually happening through these individual expressions, be they on on a show like this, or talking to a girlfriend, or talking to your mom, or whatever the case is. Just these it's like a power that carries, that whole thing about everybody's nurtured, everybody's treated the same, everybody's taken care of, like this whole different element, um, that we're not going to see on the internet platforms, or certainly not on the mainstream news.
Right.
So
Right.
thank you for stepping up, and I really feel like that's important. Obviously, by what I just said, I don't mean to be on my soapbox, but I encourage it. I really feel like it's important because you know I don't know if you've ever done a show. I know you've done some videos you were talking about, but just the way the energy of you just let go, you know, and you are you. And that's what you were saying in part. You're like, just be, like, be yourself, like, kind of thing. There's so much power in that. It's real.
Yeah.
It's love. It's
Oh,
a love
thank
thing.
you.
Thank
Thank
you
you
very
for
much.
the
Thank you very
opportunity.
much.
One of the lessons I learned with that, because I can be all over the place, is learning that lesson is to focus, because when we're all over and too busy looking at everything, or we're talking about just being, but I'm veering off from that a little bit, is that when we focus on too many things, the energy that we have within us in here is being dissipated out to different areas, and we need to stay focused on one. We got to stay focused. So that's to be is just stay focused on being in the moment, not worrying and being in those, I keep calling them imprints or paradigms and things like that, of different, and it's, you know, there's different portals of things that are there, and they're very, very thin veil. I feel like in the last, I'm trying to think, the last, or the veil was thin, and now I feel like we don't even have a veil anymore, you know? We've evolved so much.
until 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 we wake up tomorrow, we couldn't see because we're behind the other veil. No, I mean that in a good way though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you something. I can't remember now. That's how it works though. Yeah. Oh, I know what it was. So I'm not. I just can barely remember the first parts of the show. You know how it is with our short-term memory with these
Yeah.
ascensions and some. Yeah, right. So but I gather that you've got children, you've got connection, you've got some kind of family environment, whatever the case is. And I'm not saying I'm a psychic. I thought that's maybe what you alluded to or said. And going through all of this at the same time. Do you have like, do you live by yourself? Do you have children there? Do you have a partner, that type of thing? And the reason I'm asking is, how does that, the atmosphere of your home,
So I have
uh,
four
what?
children. I have four children, and I call them my four directions.
Mm,
Um, when they were all little, the youngest is 21 now. My oldest is 34. My second grandbaby's due, and hopefully on my birthday on October 12th. They might have him on October 12th, which is really amazing. Um, but I do have four children. I have an oldest one. He's 34. He's my earth, my grounder. And then I have three water signs. I have a Pisces and two Scorpios, and they're all that. So I have one, a 10-year gap, and then I have three. But I did a years ago when their little hands were tiny, I did a four directions of their hands painting, like did a little hand print, you know, four directions of the colors. And it's funny because they were all, this is like 5 years ago, they're all standing in my bedroom and they're like, which direction are we? And they were all standing in the direction that they were meant to be. It was so funny. But all of them are highly gifted um, and going through their own things, you know, like especially my Pisces one and my daughter. I have three boys and a girl. My daughter is going through a massive transformation, and she's had really a rough road, you know,
mm,
through a journey, her spiritual journey. My kids are spiritual, you know, but my son Justin, he's Pisces and he's very, very into all this. Like he's always, Mom, what's the energy for today? And he's teaching me, I'm teaching him, you know, like the kids are teaching me. There's that connection there.
mm.
I have I'm not with anybody now, but I do have a twin that I'm not in union with. So that threw me into that soul journey for 8 years now. So I went on that spiritual journey with the twin situation. Um, an amazing, amazing connection, but it's difficult.
Yeah, everybody thinks they're just peaches and cream.
No. Like so many people,
Yeah.
do I have a twin? I'm like, honey, you don't want a twin. Look for your soulmate.
Yeah, be
Yeah.
careful what you ask for.
Yeah, they're just
But it's, you know, ultimately, you know, pull through it, you go through it. It can be, at least it's, you know, it's being, I was going to say accomplished, but we have to put an ing on everything because nothing's ever done. So it's
yeah, yeah.
happening. It's happening at a
Yes.
greater and greater extent, you know, because the
Well,
human being,
he's the reason I'm here. He's the reason I'm here right now. Is he threw me into another awakening, you know? And he really pushed me to he wasn't about me reading things from a book to him. He wanted it to come from here. The messages, he wanted my messages to come from me. He goes, that doesn't mean nothing to me. I want to know what it comes from you. He was teaching me that, how to, you know, he's very spiritual. He's the only person that completely understands my road and everything I've been through. He's really supportive and stuff like that. He's still in a karmic connection right now. So we're not in communication at this time, but it's but he's helped me on my journey to get me where I am, for sure. So there's that sacred marriage, in the spiritual realm. That's where I'm aware of where we are. And we have that telepathic communication, and it is what it is, and I'm aware of it, and I'm in a good place with that now. So it was difficult, though. It was a tough, very heartbreaking journey. It really opened up my heart chakra.
You mean exploded it?
Yes. Oh, yeah. They said it was in pieces.
Well, and maybe, maybe they pick up in the next one. I don't know how it works, but it's I guess if you look at it as one continuous life experience, then the
Right, right,
direction you're heading is the direction you're going to be, or the place you're going to end up, unless you change direction. And, soul recognition, there's higher recognitions, probably don't have any names, but sometimes two people, it's just like boom. And you can't argue with it, even if you want to, you
right,
know,
right. You
especially
can't
in a
go,
human experience, especially in a
right.
human.
Oh, definitely.
But yeah, yeah, it was very cool sitting down with you. I love your direct, wide open, uh, just telling it like it is, what your journey's been like. And, it's full of code that you, would, be so open with us. Just the energy of that, just the energy of being yourself. So I really want to say thank you very much for shining and
Oh,
illuminating the grid and doing the work. Thank you.
thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. It was an honor to be on your show for sure. I loved watching your shows. And then you didn't come on for a while. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
where is
I
he?
was gone about a year and a half, I think.
Yeah, yeah. That
Yeah.
went by fast though, the year and a half.
Oh, yeah. Well, the way things are going now, everything, I don't even know you call it fast or slow or whatever, but there's certainly a lot of experience and intel or whatever you want to call it, code coming in each day.
Mhm.
I will say that.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like a full-time job.
Oh, yesterday was like, is it like 3 days ago? It felt like, like it was a year ago. I mean, or is it,
Yeah, it's
it's,
crazy. It's
it's
crazy.
like, I can't remember yesterday morning because it feels like it was 2 weeks ago.
I know. I know.
Yeah, it's
It's a,
unbelievable.
yeah, it's almost like what will if we're going to be nothing but the present, what is the memory of the present? Well, it's not going to be like long-term stuff, I don't think. I think it's just going to be like, what happened yesterday, and you even struggle to try to figure that out. It's
It's,
interesting the way everything's playing out. And I think, like having a conversation, listening to someone like you that's willing to be open and share just kind of the whole thing and what's going on now, because it's all kind of the same revelations, is very powerful. And so, again, I just want to say thank you very much. And I wish you blessings of grace to you and your beautiful family and everything that you're getting into.
oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And I wish the same for you and your wife also.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. All right. Peace out.